105. Quite there yet. So we'll just skip down to 5.0. And I guess we can always come back to delegation. So we have an addition, an APARA policy. So Jared, what do you want to tell us about that? So just one thing.
Yes, just one. Yeah.
This is the shortest policy.
Yeah. We did it in the ASB portion of the council meeting in the previous time. And we just did it at the wrong spot. We just need to do it in council. So. Just need that motion to accept that.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Councillor Decker has moved that, acknowledge receipt of the NAPERA policy and adopted as presented. Any questions? We don't, obviously, we don't put a, if we just keep it very generic, financial assistance, we won't, I mean, it'll be a year-over-year decision, what that amount would be.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a 3-year term, I'm not sure. 4 year, I think. 4 year. Yeah,
That is actually 5 years, so it's 25 between 9 and 5 years.
Oh, yeah, it says it on the policy, yeah. Yeah, so I guess when that expires and the policy not to be amended again, then.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know, I guess Brenda would have got the additions too, if she's even online, I don't know. If she has any questions, but I'm hearing nothing, so I'll call for the vote, all in favor? That's carried.
I do see Brenda's iPhone there, so.
Okay, so she was with us.
Yes, I'm here. Turn my video off. Hopefully I won't lose ya.
Move down to 6.1.1, by the way, is banning minor hockey awards night invitations, so I received this from their board before we go on to put on the agenda. It was on April the 3rd. I am available unless somebody else wants to go. Ready?
Yeah, nothing really to add, just same 6 o'clock at the theater. So just looking for representation and someone to bring greetings or opening remarks.
Okay, Councillor Reese has made a motion to send myself to bring opening remarks on behalf of the council. All in favor? Carried. None. 1:30. Item B is the para AGM and the annual farmer appreciation night letter. So I know that they were pretty low on numbers, but I think it's coming up. I don't know if anybody's heard.
I texted with which is over the weekend, and she says the numbers are still low. So if you know people available, please send them their way to attend. Apparently, it's very good food. So
I mean, it's always a good event, and I'm going taking my wife along. Have to do it.
Just take it ahead of time.
probably for them to.
Yeah, I just phoned the office and said, just leave him at the desk and I'll there, you can pay for when I get there, so that's what I did.
Okay, that's what.
Or you might even get a compliment if you want, or I don't know, one of us can bring remarks from the county and then we can figure it out, I guess. So anyway, this is just for information, I guess. Awareness. Carl, you home?
No, I'm busy that night.
No.
I went last year.
Okay, so if there's no questions or any comments, just need a motion to acknowledge receipt of it. Okay, Councillor Reese, with that motion, all in favor? Carried. Item C is the FCM motion and the CNA conference. So I'll speak to this because you guys have approved me to go to FCM in Ottawa, which we were kind of hesitant. We don't really know the value of it. And then in the meantime, since then, there's this Canadian Nuclear Association is having their annual conference in Ottawa. And I thought, well, I would have much more value in going to learn more about nuclear there than would at FCM. So the costs will be the same, will actually be less because the Regional Energy Committee is gonna pay for the registration. We actually get one registration free because we're members of CANAC. So the committee approved to send 2 people. So Reeve Willing is gonna go as well. So I have to pay for one registration, so divide that by 2 people, I guess. So it won't really cost the committee very much either. So the airfares and hotels are really quite reasonable to go then. So I just looking for approval to make that switch. I think could be a much better bang for the buck and the travel than it would be to go to FCM.
Well, I'm in favor of not going to FCM this year, but I think we may be getting ahead of ourselves here. We've had quite a few meetings with industry people and at least one public outreach event in Edmonton, but we've had nothing in our own community. So
Had nothing with it.
no consultation with our own residents here on this issue.
So again, this is representing the committee.
But still, we put money towards this. It's still, this development's happening, well, potentially. Our community, I think we should be reaching out to our residents before we go off to Ottawa and Edmonton and all those other places. Make sure people are on board first before we do anything in this regard. That's my take.
So then they prepared to make a motion. I am. Okay. Councillor, please make that motion. We said you. Or back when? To the CIA. Yep. But rather than FCM. Yes. Okay, Councillor, please, let's make that motion.
Brown, I'm not sure.
So it'll be that conference and the CANAC AGM as well, which I think probably be as valuable.
If I can say something about this.
Yeah, go ahead, Brenda.
I just wanted to say, I think it's important that we learn as much as we can about nuclear at this point in time. I know in future there's, like, we very likely would. Well, absolutely, we would be consulting with our residents at some point, but I think at this point, it's important to learn as much as we can. So I'm in favor of sending Terry.
Next thing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There will be much consultation as this thing unfolds. I mean, it's still a concept yet in my mind, because they haven't even submitted any IPDs yet, but
I would submit we could all learn from, we can learn about this, about going to Ottawa. Be sure there's lots of printed material and information on the internet. Much of this will be presented from industry, so it will be presented in a certain light. We'll get one side of the picture on this. So again, I don't see the value in this. I'd rather spend time on consulting with their own residents. See if they're in favor before we start making grandiose plans on this.
any other comments? I'll call for the vote. Brenda was already all in favor. All in favor? Opposed? That's good. Okay, next is item D, which was an addition. And that's concerning the letter from the Peace River School Division. So earlier, under the delegation package, with quite a lengthy bunch of information there about the liability review going on. Submitted by Kent Russell, and then there was also the letter to council. Or no, I guess it was to the trustees and superintendent. The first one is to the council. So I hope everybody had a chance to read that, and then there's a copy of the ability review report also attached. So I guess from our point, like I replied to Kent that we don't have any input into the governance of a school board. I mean, we can be advocates for the residents, but we don't, we're not on the governance side of it. We did attend a meeting, they had a meeting with municipal partners back in, that was in February. And Brenda spoke briefly to the chair there about the Dixonville School, and they kind of give her a really quick answer that the viability review is going on. And it would be coming out, so which now we have it. So I guess we wait and see what their next steps are. And that's the purpose of this meeting, I guess, is to kind of inform residents. And I think, Carl, you've been on a fairly good campaign to get people, you know, make it known that they have children that would be attending that school. And it's a vital asset to the region. I mean, we've seen this happen in other communities, and I mean, Cave River closed down, Zama closed down. I mean, Northland School Division is struggling. This isn't anything new with the urbanization that's going on, but it is still concerning. And so I know I plan on going. I think Larry's going to go. I don't know.
I'm gonna leave convention early and make sure that I'm there that night. I think it's important.
I can probably make it up. Brenda,
I have to go to a funeral. Okay, sorry.
and Brenda, you'll be back home by then, I'm assuming.
Yes, I'll be attending this meeting for sure.
So that's about all we can really offer right now is, we'll show up as, elected people from the region, right? And advocate as best we can, but at the end of the day, I guess it's their decision to make, and, hopefully we can influence them to, hopefully they have some good options there, right? Maybe it's not jumping right to closure, maybe there's something in between that'll help. I mean, Nampa went through the same thing, right? And they somehow managed to keep that afloat, so.
Councillor, do you want the CAO to attend, but we need to have that in the motion as well?
I'm going in, yes, I'm going into motion for that. I think the options that they're looking at is that it's either close the school permanently, alter the grade configuration. It is in the
Report.
it's actually in the RFP there. 0611D.
Yeah, I think it's important that we just support whatever the parents would like to see. And I guess we won't know for sure out of the choices until after that meeting. And then we can send letters of support or whatever. I think it's just whatever the parents want for future.
It's horrible. If they close the school down, the chances of reopening that is zero.
Yeah.
Not minimal, it's zero. We really have to advocate for that.
Was there a reason for people switching to the, like switching over to Grimshaw, or was it?
There are a few different reasons.
That's what we don't really know. Like the parents that left the school have never been asked why they left or what their decision was, or so like that's one of the good questions I think we need to ask the school division, like why weren't the parents consulted about, like they should have to answer a questionnaire when they're switching schools, I think. Just seeing how many have left, like why did they leave? Like we need to know that. And then we can make things better. If the school is a reason.
But I mean, there's probably enough students to have a viable population, but between going to Grimshaw, homeschooling, and that's just.
Talked about my own example of the catchment zone, right? Then it becomes school of choice and all of those other factors. And I mean, I'm literally a highway away and I got pushed the other way, which my option totally would have been to go to Dixonville, right? So there's my crew that would have been there too, right? So I think there's a lot of things to consider and a lot of questions to ask. And I think it's really important that we support these parents for sure.
I've sort of got a problem with the school board. They just leave it go till it's almost to, past the, and then we're left with, like, no real options. They should be out there pushing and shoving, their program to keep it going, not trying to shut it down, and, I just do, I've seen it in a few other places and, a few times now, and, they just sort of act like they wanna.
They're reactive and not proactive, you know?
Yeah, exactly, and, I think there should be a different process anyhow, like, they should be, trying to work, with people and keep it viable. It doesn't seem like they work that way.
Okay, so you would have, preferred to send your kids to Dixonville, is that what I'm hearing?
100%,
But you didn't have that choice.
Well, I could have if I would have paid for busing.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, because it would become my school of choice, because I am a half a kilometer on this side of 986 and 986 is the boundary.
so those that chose to send their kids to Grimshaw and to Dixonville, they had to pay for their busing.
So for them to go to Grimshaw, their busing is paid for.
From Dixonville?
No, from me, like
For
from
you.
our house to Grimshaw
Yeah.
School, she paid for.
Right.
But if I would have sent them to Dixonville School, I would have paid for busing.
But
for my kids.
what I'm saying is that then those people, that chose not to send the kids to Dixonville, even though they're area, they had sent them to Grimshaw, then they paid extra for the busing?
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
No,
No?
because they don't have.
They ride the high school bus.
No, they don't. Yeah, they, yeah, there's no questions asked. If there's a bus going by, they're allowed to just jump on without any charge, extra charge.
In the transportation policy.
Yeah,
And if
So-
the school bus goes past their place, they can send their kid on that bus.
So that's maybe a problem then, I mean, that's not incentivizing them to, if they can go there free of charge.
well, and I mean, there's a whole slew of families of us that are on that side of 986 that do it, right? Like, I mean, there's a reason my kids get on the bus a half an hour earlier this year, because there's so many of us that could have just gone the other way, but because the bus is going the other way, it doesn't work.
Well, maybe those are some points we can,
And I think that that catchment zone needs to be looked at. I was angry about it when I enrolled my kids in school and I had to go sit through the transportation thing and give them the pin to my house, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, I mean, I would have much rather my kids not take a 50-kid classroom.
Yeah.
For their first time.
Like, I think there needs to be a lot more discretion when it comes to, like, when you're so close to the border like that. You're probably closer to Dixonville even. But, yeah, and then the other thing is, so students can go to from Dixonville to Grimshaw if they're willing, like, so if there is no bus going by, then the parents have the option to drive their kids to the nearest bus run that goes to Grimshaw. So it's almost like they just accommodate them.
Do we know if any of the parents have reached out to see what Napa did? Like, I didn't follow that story as much because it wasn't in our county, but how they were able to rally that back, because that's a pretty current example, and they were able to do it, so maybe that might be something. That was one of my questions for Kent if he was here, but.
Yeah, I did speak to Marie Dick, the school board trustee, and she said that with Nampa, I think the parents were able to convince the school division that there would be enough kids, and then there was a difference though with between Dixonville and Nampa, is that their higher numbers were in the lower grades, where with Dixonville, the higher numbers are in the higher grades. So students that would be leaving was more than that would be staying there, like for grade K to 6.
January years ago too, same thing,
Yeah.
winning numbers, and the people were able to, keep it open longer than what school division would have preferred, but ultimately, they had no choice, right?
Yeah.
And then I think if we can let Carl speak to it, he well, he has kids in the school, so he had said that like there's some students that they're missing in their counts, like their counts aren't entirely accurate.
They projected 21 to 31 students. There are currently 38 students in the school. There will only be one grade 9 leaving, and he's my son. So 38 subtract 1 is 37, and their highest projection is 31. So there's 6 that they have guaranteed as leaving. And we know that 3 of those are not. Because we've gone through the numbers and figured out a family of 3 kids. And we can see in their numbers that they have them as guaranteed leaving there. So that is the reason why I've sent out a letter through the post office to every parent saying, if you intend to send your kid to the school next year, please write down name, age, and sign so that we can have a more accurate number than what the school board is guessing.
Yeah, so that's a little disturbing too, that they use numbers that aren't really valid.
Well, they use numbers, I guess the principal has to submit numbers back in January. And it's through the process that goes along, but since January, we've had kids move back from Grimshaw and other families move in. So the situation right now is different than it was in January.
Okay, so they just.
So we have to give them a more accurate picture of where we are right now.
Right.
And hopefully before this meeting, they're gathering that as well, right?
Oh, I guess,
School division.
yeah,
Well, I mean, and you never know. I mean, I know personally, like a ton of people that homeschool out there, maybe with the threat of the closure of the school, they would change too, right? And that would be.
Yeah.
A big.
and that's what the letter is too, because I know a lot send their kids to Grimshaw. But under the threat of the school closing, they may change their mind too.
For
So
sure.
it gives them an option too, to say, no, I choose to send my kid back to this. So we'll see what we get for numbers.
Perfect.
Okay, so. For a second. Okay. So we have a motion from Councillor Beckman to acknowledge receipt of the school division letter and send the rest of the councillors. And bring back discussion to our next meeting on April 8th.
I'll make that motion. Oops, sorry.
Okay, so Councillor Sinsky will make that motion. Any final discussion, thoughts? All in favor? It's carried.
We're also doing the draft day letter part.
Bring it back to me.
So we'll do that after the
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your input, Carl.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming.
Yes,
Thank you.
see you on the 2nd.
If you're really bored, you can stick around for the rest of the meeting.
I got other work. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, let's move on to 6.1.2. Item A is a CEO report.
Yeah.
Not really.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. So I've asked Bill to join us, but she's coming for the NPC part. But if everybody can just congratulate Bill, we've made her and she's accepted our offer officially. She's starting on Monday coming, and well, we're really looking forward to that. I think
She will join us today for the
She's
MPC.
going to come in for the NPC. We had the auditors here last week for 3 days. I think that's why Josh is sick today. So he did a real good job. He kept him busy the whole time. He's helping him out with some final questions, and hopefully we'll have an audit out. I think he's got a little bit more information on this report a little bit later on. Then went to the open house. Geez, there was lots of people. I was really impressed. I wish I would have rate player meetings with that. That was really awesome to see so many people there. I know it's a bigger area and it's an interesting topic. What I did like about it is the various stations they had there, so you could ask questions specifically to a specific area like water, all those things. It was really cool. We got an update from the AEMA Hazard Season Outlook. I sent that out to council. That's actually quite nice information, especially for the farmers, I would think, about the rain forecast for the year. We had a Peace Rural Fire Advisory meeting at the Wiggleball Hall. Raised some concerns about the service delivery, and the CEO for the town, Peace River, and I are working together to get a new agreement, because I think the previous agreement was, I think, 2012. And the last actual meeting for this one was in 2015. So hopefully we can get more proactive on that side. Then on the RMA, we met with the Assistant Deputy Minister Tom Liu. I gotta be honest, I've attended a few of these meetings before, man. This is really the first one that I've felt that somebody really listened to us. He gave us lots of time. I really appreciated that. We went through the topics that's available there. Maybe something that stood out for me was the bridge over the Peace River. So at the moment, there's like 3 potential crossings in Paddle Prairie, where they have to buy land, which might count against that side of it. And the fault option, which we copied you, so hopefully they will. And what he told us, that there's no official formal decision made. It's still open. So.
And we emphasize too that you can't make the decision totally on budget, that it has to be built in the right place. And there's head nodding, and they agreed, but I mean, that's gonna be a political decision, I guess. The minister will have to.
Especially if you amortize the bridge over 100 years, I mean, you have to take it on, so like 25 million is not gonna, over 100 years, it's not that much.
And they are talking about a public-private partnership, like toll bridge, right?
This is a toll bridge.
They weren't that concerned about building extra road to service the bridge. They said that would be a fairly minor cost compared to the bridge itself, which is kind of interesting.
And it would be good for both counties. I mean, Mackenzie County as well as our side for southern development in that area. So it's something to consider. And then the stuff funding, which I'm eagerly looking forward to, is probably going to be announced very soon. So
You skipped over a couple items, so
yeah,
it's gonna be there for everybody to see.
yeah.
So the old, the old piece for bridge, now they're projecting the fall of 2026 to be open, so we're ready to overhaul the new one by then.
The turning lanes one, that's something that we just
Well,
need to send, but you.
I was gonna talk about
You'll
that,
look up
in my
Okay.
report.
And your report will talk about that.
And then I just want to remind council that I am on leave right now until April 21st.
Okay.
Open to question.
Yeah. Any questions?
On the, oh, sorry, on the, toll bridge, did they, or instilling a toll, did they talk about what a toll would look like, or any conversation there?
All they really said was that, Brenda, was that the toll would be on the bridge until it was paid for. They never indicated how much.
Oh, okay,
He did say that they had done some surveying the community, people that would be using it, and they didn't seem to have an issue with paying the toll. They thought would be better than driving around. Even if they had paid it out.
And there is even support from industry to pay the toll, so yeah.
Yeah, so they didn't get any pushback on the toll.
And I know for passenger vehicles, I don't know, it would be $5 or $10, it wouldn't be huge, and you would easily save that extra gas and wear and tear of your vehicle to go through high level rates. Well, the other thing he did say too about the ferry, that they acknowledged that there's been issues with the ferry the last 2 seasons, and he didn't use the word guarantee, but he said it will be running this summer. They're gonna do some dredging, some of the sandbars that are in the way there, and they got the propulsion system fixed up, so he said you will see the ferry a lot this summer, so we'll hold them to that. Okay, any other comments? Get a motion to accept the CEO report?
I'll move.
Okay, Councillor Sean, all in favor? It's carried. Oh, geez, what am I gonna do before 5 o'clock? Josh, you wanna give your report and you can go back and watch Prices Right or whatever you do on your side?
Got the TV babysitter going in the living room, so. Yeah, my report pretty brief. I've been busy just with follow-up stuff from the audit. Wanted to bring you just a snapshot of your council grants just to keep you guys updated there. We get a few little ones every second meeting, it seems like. So most importantly, just the miscellaneous grants and the amount remaining there is on the bottom. And then just another quick update, just in case you guys are all wondering, we'll kind of be transitioning from one of Josh's busy seasons to another one. So while we work to finalize all the follow-up stuff from the audit, then we'll migrate to getting you guys a final operating and capital budget, as well as the property tax or mill rate bylaw. I've given you just kind of my hopeful schedule there. I know Danilda's away on holidays right now. As soon as she's back, she's going to be working to do the assessment upload, so we can bring you guys just kind of an analysis of what that's done, so you have that information ahead of time before we bring the tax bylaw to you. And then last one, Gerhard already touched on, so you guys will see Pearl there. It's going to be busy planning just some training efforts with that between Gerhard and I and ISL, so looking forward to it.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, not a
So the miscellaneous grants remaining, that's reflective of the grant we give the volleyball.
Yeah, correct. I bumped that one in there.
All right. Looks like you're getting off easy, no questions, so we'll get a motion to accept the Director of Finance report. Councillor, please. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you, Council.
Well, we don't need a break yet. We've had it on the hour. I go to page 2.
I can speak really slowly.
Get that monotone voice.
Well, maybe that item B might take a while, so we'll take it one step at a time. Yeah. We'll go to second page, 6.3.1 A is a DPW report, so take her away, Alice.
Yeah, so as you may or may not be aware, our dust control applications are open. They're slowly coming in. Usually towards the end of the month is when they really come in, but so don't have any numbers yet for you, but I will, unless council wishes not to. I will bring forward here, beginning of May, the county sponsored dust control that we've done previous to my time, that we haven't done in, well, the entire time I've been here. So I'll bring that forward to you guys unless otherwise told. Gravel crushing, we had some discussions with engineers and as well as just internally with administration here. And we will see way better prices if we lump in Sunny Valley crushing with Gillis. Gillis crushing is technically a 24 capital project and Sunny Valley is a 25.
So they've both been budgeted for the.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're both budgeted for. We just kind of figured, you know what, take advantage of the low price while we can. And the more gravel you crush, the less your per ton cost would be. So we're hoping for good prices on that. Obviously, with re-gravel happening in the south this year, Gillis would be first to be crushed, and then they'd move to Sunny Valley. Because everything will be coming out of Gillis pit this year.
So you haven't tendered that yet? Then?
No, it's not tendered yet. We're
still as 2 pit crushing.
Yeah. So I actually have a meeting with them tomorrow morning. to kind of go over some of the finer details. And kind of, I'm not 100% sure what he wants to ask. He said he had a few questions, so. Well, I can give you guys an update on that later.
And just to clarify, that is not currently, it's actually the one and then the other one.
Yes, correct.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, I mean, depending where they come from, right, if they come from Red Deer, to move that stuff all up, and then somebody else to move to Sunny Valley, that's gotta save you some money.
I have a sneaking suspicion, and I'm not gonna say it publicly, but, I have a sneaking suspicion, I know who it's gonna be awarded to, or who will be the low bidder, because there is some crushing operations already within the county. For other pits and stuff, so I think I might know who's gonna throw a number in.
So they, I mean, they can give a really good deal then, right, if,
Potentially.
area,
Yeah.
perfect.
Or make a really good profit.
You know, sharp your pencils are.
Yeah, no, exactly, so. Gerhard already kind of talked about the RMA a bit. We, in the supervisor side of the RMA, we had a presentation from director of SWANA, which is the landfill regulatory body that falls under Alberta Environment. So just a little fun fact is Alberta Environment requires us to have a certified operator to run our landfill. However, we don't run enough hours, even when we work 2 days a week, to certify an operator. So it's kind of this weird gray area, and we, as administration, went around and around and around in circles so much I was dizzy and falling over. And finally, they were able and willing to give us conditional certification. And speaking with this director from SWANA, that they're potentially going to look into smaller municipal landfills, because it's not just an us problem. It's, we're not alone. They've been seeing this across the board for lots of municipalities that run like we do. So it is a bit of a hassle every year. We gotta try to get a renewal. There was some issues in environment, some staffing issues. The guy we usually deal with was gone for a substantial amount of time. And it was just a runaround to try to get anything done, and we didn't actually get our conditional approval or conditional license until 2 weeks ago. And we had requested it in October, and I was told, yeah, you let me know in October and it'll be here right away. And he was on sick leave, so there's nothing much we could do on that end, but chased it to beat enough trees that eventually got her. So but other than that, so on the RMA thing, or the ADM meeting, I was going to reach out to Derek Young about the turning lanes. Now, I know 924 is for high priority. I was wanting to see as well if we wanted to add up at Twin Lakes, because that's a fairly bad intersection.
Like, which one, like where the loggers are turning off, or
Well, right,
at the park?
at the park, yeah.
No, I don't. So one that I've been asked to bring forward is one right at Nauticuen, because we have logging company, log trucking companies on each side of the highway. We've got Knievel on the west, we've got Cobras to the east, and plus there's a lot of grain comes out of that area.
Yeah.
On both sides. And it's a busy intersection for heavy traffic,
100%.
yeah. So
And that's
more
why I
so,
wanted to talk about it here, just
yeah,
to,
so I mean, Twin Lakes, yeah, you get a few ice fishermen in the winter, a few campers in the summer, but not any real industrial traffic.
okay, so Nauticue at 924, and we also were thinking Sulphur Lake as well, cause there has been some industrial traffic there.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, like I said, 924 is the worst. But
And I don't know,
if I'm gonna send these out, I don't wanna have to send one and then a couple weeks later another and then another. I just wanna send them all at once and
and I don't know if
get it over with.
industry would, participate in
Well,
924.
And that's one of the other things I was gonna ask is if council wants me to start discussions and see what the temperature is like. Then
I mean-
put everybody together.
Their answer may well be that, you know, we pay you guys, we pay lots of taxes already, provincially and municipally, and
Yeah, and
it's
that's,
not their responsibility, but,
yeah, I, like,
Throw a temperature gauge out.
yeah, like I kinda got the feeling that they wouldn't be opposed to it in previous discussions, and obviously it was very kind of off the cuff discussion, but
And I had that same discussion with, when Stefan was still there.
Yeah.
And, we were actually, the same thing, it was at AFPA conference over dinner, and he said, yeah, we should get together with the county, transportation, and us, and we should, he wanted to pave the whole road to the satellite road, but, so that's not probably gonna happen, but we can. So.
if he wants to pay for it all. Okay, so those are the three intersections that I will bring up to Derek.
Sure.
And see where it lands, and I, like they had mentioned there too, that they kind of, if there is something like this in the area. And they're doing a project like the Ag Road, for example, that they're gonna do this year, I think. That they could potentially lump that in, and I would love to see that, and that's obviously their decision. Get the ball rolling anyway, and
You don't ask, you'll never get anything.
exactly.
Okay, thanks, Charles. Can you give us any update, and maybe you have nothing, is the water policy, how's that coming along, is, you ready before spring season?
Yes, I will have something for you guys for first reading on the 8th.
Oh, okay.
However, I will not be here on the 8th. One of the things actually that came out of our side of the conference is an opportunity to do some fairly in-depth procurement training through Canoe. They're hosting it. And we figured it would be best to send myself. And so I'll be down all that week. I'll be away. So I'm gonna have her present it to you.
It's just for first reading, so it should be good.
Well, yes,
And
we're anxious to see it. so.
oh, for sure. And it's, yeah, there's it's a work in progress right now. I'm just trying to put out all the other fires that come up first. But I'll get something to you by the 8th, and we'll go from there. And if there's any questions thereafter, let Gerhard know, and we can go from there.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to put, Chinook Valley, the boys might already be on it, but the culvert at Holly's is like trashing the road right now. It's really bad.
So, okay, I can speak to this too. The phone this morning has
I
run
imagine.
steadily, and everything has been south of Township 900, so our north lead is very happy about that, but
Yeah.
our south is not.
Yeah, and I figured as much, I mean, you
Yeah,
drive,
we're-
the whole
we're-
drive here, it's like, if the prairie not steaming, somebody else is steaming it, and I know, but just that one is
So
always a crap.
technically, those culverts off the highway are Alberta Transportation.
Yeah.
We have actually an agreement with transportation that if they contact us, we'll do it, bill them for it. If the prairie is unavailable.
Yeah, but this one isn't, but yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
figured the one at Holly's, no, it's just north of the S Bends at one.
Oh, okay, I thought you meant right at the highway.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, we're,
I'm sure that they're probably on it, but
we got guys out full bore, and they're doing overtime, trying to get things
Yeah.
flowing and,
Before the snow tomorrow.
yeah, and before everything freezes
Well,
again.
the snow.
which will probably happen.
Seventh winter, here we go.
Yeah,
Did you get that steamer repaired that was, stole?
so update on that, I guess, too. The parts we were gonna order, or sorry, the replacement for the pump. We were told one was in Canada. And we were all going, oh, yeah, let's do it. And then it turned out, no, it's in Italy.
No.
So, be here till April. So we were able to find parts for it and we had a spare up here, so they've got 2 steamers running in the south, we've got 2 running up here. So we're not short anything by any means, but that is gonna probably be up and running, I would assume, end of the week. Maybe, depending here, I guess, when it gets cold again and everything stops flooding. We can get that fixed up and running again.
And if it gets really bad, and you've used third-party contractors too?
Oh, yeah, if we really needed to, yeah, I mean, we've got so we had 2 spares. One's down south right now, so we've got another spare sitting here that we could rig up if we really needed to. The issue is manpower, right? You can't just send one guy with a steamer. We're, the boys are running, and the ladies are running full tilt.
Yeah, and I totally figured that, and I figured they'd be on top of it, just
Oh, yeah.
with that road as busy as it is, and with that nice rock truck that likes to keep driving through the water there, it's not gonna last very long. So.
Okay, any other questions?
I just wanted to say thanks to Charles for adding Sulphur Lake onto the list of turning lanes. That's great because over the years, there have been a couple serious accidents there and there is steady log trucks coming out of there every winter, so it would be,
Yeah, and that was the main reason.
yeah, no, that's great. Thanks.
No problem.
Okay, well, thanks, Brenda. No other questions? I get a motion to accept the DPW report for information. Councillor Reese, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Item B, haul rates, gravel haul rates for 2025. You're gonna set them, or the trucker's gonna set them?
Yeah, well, this year, nobody's hauling out of Sunny Valley, so.
It's all in the south this year, it goes?
Yeah. Wards 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, it's fairly easy haul this year. We tried reaching out a bit here. A lot of municipalities are holding their rates. As I've come to find out now since writing this. Others have just not set rates yet and haven't even discussed it, so. I'm of the opinion that we do change our rates back to the 23 rate because, like I said, it's mainly highway travel. It also would save us $246,000, so. In just hauling costs, not the whole program. Make that clear. So I don't know if there's any questions, I mean.
So just say it again, Charles, you're recommending option 2,
Correct.
and based on the fact that it's all flat haul,
Yeah,
there's no
it's,
Sunny Valley.
yeah, it's all coming out of Gillis Pit, nothing, no big hills to climb up loaded or anything like that, so.
So I mean, a lot of it is actually pavement, right? I mean, going all the way up to Dixonville.
Yeah.
So these guys, they have to use clear fuel, right? The trucks, obviously, because they're running on highways. And is there gonna be do you anticipate an election that, it's all, the carbon tax seems to be the #1 issue. If they take that off, is that gonna bring the fuel price down? We don't know that, I guess.
Well, yeah, I don't know, and I don't wanna get into that.
No,
But from what you hear, yeah, fuel price is gonna come down.
Supposedly April first,
Is,
it's
yeah,
going down to zero.
Well, for, what do they call it, for consumers, you know, I don't know about industrial. If truckers are considered consumer or industrial, because
and
the big users,
a lot of these trucks come from farms, so they're burning purple anyway.
right,
Sure.
well, we don't want that in the front page, right? Because,
Sir, yeah.
Say that.
Please don't quote that down.
because I mean, if they are, that's their choice, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And in all reality, I don't watch them fuel up, so
Yeah,
I,
you know, what they do is their business and they can.
Yeah.
They can suffer any consequences because of it, I guess, but, yeah, I just wondering. Option 2 is not gonna be viewed as favorable, but, I can see the reasoning behind it.
and I mean, that's the reason that, and I always kind of hesitate to make a recommendation on this. But option 2 from an administrative standpoint is what's gonna save us money and what can we justify? And in all reality, your flat haul hauling on the highway. Yeah, you still have wear and tear on your vehicle. We're not negating that, but we're still up there in what we're paying trucks to haul ground. And we have been for quite some time.
So even reducing it to. The 2023 rates were still very comparable with other municipalities.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was even in 23, it was still fairly high compared to surrounding, and everybody seems to kind of be maintaining what they were paying. And the hard thing too, I guess, when you're comparing this, is it's not always necessarily apples to apples, because different municipalities do different things. I do have as an attachment there our 2024 request for decision. And you can see there, like Mackenzie County pays hourly at 80% if you have your core, 70% without. MD Peace just tenders theirs based on the miles that they want to do. Birch Hills is $1, or sorry, 0.2125 of a ton kilometer, no loading factor, nothing, so it's kind of hard to
Yeah, they're all over the place.
compare, right? But yeah, from what we can see, like we're fairly competitive with it. They're fairly generous.
Well, I'm all for saving money. I'm showing up to do the job.
Yeah.
That's always the balance, isn't it?
Well, and I think with it being in the south as well, we're gonna see a fair amount. Because it is highway miles, it's easy hauling.
And those truckers out of the south will be closer to home, they're not gonna head up to Sunny Valley every morning.
No, exactly. So I think we'll see a fair amount of interest, and even last year we had 26 trucks total signed up, something like that. And so, I mean, that's not to say I'm not opposed to keeping the rates as to what they are. But like I said, I gotta present what I think is best, and saving the county money is what I think is best.
So obviously, you must have an idea of. What you did, because you got a firm number there. On option 2, 972,000, what would happen if you lowered the ton rate loading factor like you proposed? But kept the hauling rate the same, that would be.
I've got a spreadsheet just for that, Terry. So what did you wanna see for ton
Well,
kilometers?
so if you left that loading factor at $1.50, you lowered it by 40 cents from last year. But then keep the hauling rate at, the hauling factor the same as last year. I mean, that's probably gonna be the bigger part of the cost rate, is the hauling factor. As opposed to the loading factor.
So you wanna keep it at 25 cents? So that should put you. A total of 1.16
1.16.
million.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah,
not
not
really,
dollars.
not really saving a whole bunch.
No, it doesn't really,
From option one.
yeah, it's. And I mean, I just present these options, these are just kind of what we come up with, and if we wanna adjust, that's why I have my spreadsheet handy.
When do you anticipate the hauling to start?
So we will be, yeah, mid-June.
Well, that would be post elections, and I'm sure the majority of elections will be about dropping the carbon tax. Definitely, there should be a reduction in fuel rates.
That's what I always struggle with, right? Like it was the fuel rates and then it was Sunny Valley and like none of those are really factors.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind of argument they would use. We had a year last year where we had to, climb the Sunny Valley and blah, blah, blah. This year, we have an easier haul. It averages out for the bad year, but I mean, I don't know if that they would present that. I just would almost bet that there'll be pushback when you see lower rates coming out from last year.
We can't please everybody. I don't.
We're still
Oh.
higher than Clear Hills
Exactly. And we're
at
not
that
under it.
rate, and it's,
I don't know, the hill, climbing that hill was a big concern for almost some
Oh, it is.
tires and wear and tear and,
Yeah.
fuel
And we see that as well. I mean, we have our own trucks that climb that hill too. So. I don't know, here,
Yeah,
danged if you do, danged if you don't.
So just before we, I don't, you got a spreadsheet, you can change numbers pretty easily.
Absolutely.
So say if you went option 2 and not quite dropped it from I'm talking about the hauling factor. Dropped it from 25 cents to 20 cents per ton, well, if you went in between, like 22 cents, what would that?
And what did you want your loading factor to
We
be?
leave it at your $1.50 you proposed.
Okay, that brings you to 1.05 million. And change.
So you
Like, you
dropped
can
it
pull
just
number,
about $200,000, is that right?
Pardon?
You dropped it just about 200,000 from option 1 then?
So yeah, if you go to, 22 cent ton kilometer, $1.50 loading factor. That gives you a total hauling cost of 1.05394 million 50 cents. Strive for accuracy.
that sounds reasonable to me.
This compromise, I think.
We maybe start at our option 2. Because I'm sure they're not gonna be happy right away with it, and maybe then we can go up a little bit.
Counter offer with that.
I hate that it's always a negotiation.
I do too. I'd rather just something.
Set it and be done.
And that's
It's
what,
highway kilometers, it's not the same barriers that they normally see, I think they've option 2.
And that's the approach we took last year was, when they came on as a delegation and pushed back, and we said, no, I'm still in the 20-some trucks, so.
and I greatly appreciate council holding firm on that. And I mean, last year as well, something that's not in here is that we gave them a fuel surcharge, which we're not proposing this go around. It was a bit of administrative nightmare. Yeah, we can put it that way.
So should we go with option 2 or just adjust that whole factor up a little bit, with a couple cents? And we're still saving $200,000 from using the last year's rates.
Yeah, if I just split the hairs, yeah.
Yeah, Brent?
I'd be willing to risk the wrath of the truckers on option 2 as it is.
Yeah, I'm impartial both ways, like I think it is what it is. I think both federal parties, no matter what they're doing, they're gonna ditch the tax anyways, because I don't think that they can survive any other ways. So
Absolutely.
I think it's regardless, so I mean, I don't know, my motion would be to just leave it as presented, 150 and 20 and leave it. It's highway, it's easier, it's not Sunny Valley.
Okay, so we make a motion to use option 2. That's- Any further discussion? I mean, I'm gonna not support the motion because I'd like to see it go up to 22 cents.
I'm fine, if we wanna do 22, I'll do 22,
Okay.
Gary, it's fine,
Okay.
yeah, I'm good either way.
Still saving money.
Yes.
I mean, we're splitting hairs at this point, I don't think we need to defeat and redo a motion for that, I'm fine for 22.
It's a big hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm
All right.
fine, I'm good with that.
Brenda, can you see the motion? Probably not.
Yeah, I can. You wanted to go with option 2, $1.50 and then 22 cents per ton kilometer?
That's good.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's the way to go.
All in favor? Okay, that's carried. There you go, Charles.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Okay, let's do the next one. It's should be pretty quick. Item C is Public Works. Proclamation.
Yes, so. You say pretty quick, but I'll try to keep it as quick as I can. So since I joined on with the CPWA, Canadian Public Works Association. Got a lot more information on how to best present your Public Works Week. And I think we've kind of started going up over the years that I've been here, and we have some really fun stuff planned this year. So, sorry. One of the things that I would like to see as well is kind of get a little more participation. So one of the things that we are planning is kind of a Public Works open house during this week. And I'd love to see council come as well. And a bunch of social media stuff that we're planning and other fun little things that I'll leave to the imagination for now. But yeah, if council wishes to move forward with this, we would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, any comments? I mean, we've always kind of declared that week, but you want to make more
More of a fuss.
of an event.
Yeah.
I think it's totally deserved, so anything else?
Okay, so Councillor Beckham makes a motion that we declare May 18th to 24th National Public Works Week in the County of Northern Lights. All in favor? Good.
Thank you, council.
Okay, let's just skip down to the last couple items before we go on camera. We'll take a break. So we have a MPC at 3 o'clock, but that'll be a separate meeting, right? So we can adjourn this one when we're done in camera and come back to that. So info package, there was some additions to it. Any discussion out of that? Some good stuff in there. See none. Brenda, did you want to accept the information package with the additions for information?
Sure, I will make that motion.
All in favor? Carried. No decision to make on the delegation. We will attend Peace River School Division Town Hall. So open mic, Dan.
So you're gonna have me leave just for a bit, then, you're going in camera, then you're having the MPC after, is that?
It's scheduled for 3 o'clock, so.
Okay.
So no questions for now?
No questions. I was just a little bit confused with the gravel hole. So you're doing the Southern wards this year,
Yeah, wards 1, 2, and 3.
and you're hauling out of Gillis and Sunny Valley?
No, just Gillis.
Okay, because it just says Sunny Valley.
You might have been looking at the crushing.
Yeah, maybe, that's right, yeah. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Crushing.
So I mean, how we will get residents will get a break this year.
Forward to that. There's still other gravel pits down there.
Yeah, no, there's so many holes in it. You know, there's always rough, kind of, not as much. A little bit less, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit less from us anyway.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back in one camera. Brenda, we're just gonna take a 10 or 15-minute break and then we'll come back and do our in-camera items.
Sounds good.
Gonna ambush you, Terry.
Get another way down.
Excuse me, gonna pull it back. Yeah, I know. Awesome, thank you.
Karaoke. You use the practice with the shotgun or what? Karaoke accident. Contact sport. The cord was wrapped around the thing and got the mic and it put on the mic more. Well, karaoke is a contact sport in there. Well, it can be.
We'll get through our MPC and we can run down and watch the lift.
Yeah.
That's helpful. And so we'll provide some practical next steps should you decide to pursue this opportunity that we're going to present. Just wondering if we can go to the next slide. There it is, thank you. Today, Natalia and Chelsea will lead a presentation about the Green Municipal Fund and Climate Ready plans. Both Natalia and Chelsea have more than 10 years experience as planners. They've worked on county projects in the past. They specialize in writing environmental, agricultural, and housing plans and implementation strategies. And if I can get a little poetic, they are truly stars in the County of Northern Lights sky. So I'll pass the presentation over to Natalia, who will take on the next slide.
Thank you, David. I apologize, but I don't seem to be able to make my camera work right now. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present. As David said, we are here to talk about an opportunity through the Green Municipal Fund, or GMF for short. This is a national program that helps communities like the county prepare for the future, where that is dealing with tougher weather, changing infrastructure needs, or making the most of local resources. The idea of this fund is simple. It helps cover the cost of planning ahead for climate risks, so you don't have to carry the whole burden alone. This fund is here to reduce the financial risk of taking on long-term projects that make your services and infrastructure stronger and more reliable. If we can go to the next slide. So one of the programs of the GMF, which is what we are here to present today, is called the Climate Ready Plans and Processes. And this funding stream helps communities make practical plans for any climate challenges that may come down the road. And this can look like floods, fires, droughts, and the impacts that these events would have on your critical infrastructure and your communities, your economic systems, your agriculture, anything really. This funding can help the county understand how climate change will manifest itself locally, which is different for every community. Who and what is most at risk, and what are some key measures to prepare for these events? If we can go to the next slide, please. So one of the great things about this fund is that it is made for communities like the county. It is open to local governments and indigenous communities, but it prioritizes rural, northern, and remote communities. And these are all boxes that the county checks. For the county specifically, this project covers 80% of project costs up to a maximum of $70,000. And this percentage can be even higher if the county were to partner with another municipality or indigenous community, or if the project would include a meaningful indigenous reconciliation lens. So what are the outcomes that this funding is looking to create in local communities? In simple terms, it would be a study that helps you understand your climate risks, looking at how things like extreme weather or natural disasters might impact your people, your infrastructure, your economy, and even natural resources like water and your land. For most communities, the best place to start is with a risk assessment, and this is what GMF recommends for communities that don't already have one. Is the starting point so that you have a baseline with clear information and a clear picture of where you're most vulnerable to these weather events. And this can be roads, your utilities, housing, agriculture, which we know it's very important for the county. From there, the county would be in a great position to make decisions and apply for future funding, which is something that my colleague will expand on a little bit more. So if you were to start with a risk assessment, and if we can go to the benefits slide, please. Thank you. So no matter what the specific project ends up looking like, it will give the county a better understanding of its risks and vulnerabilities to climate events, such as floods, droughts, and the strain that would put in your infrastructure. With that knowledge, the county can make smart and informed decisions to protect its people, services, and infrastructure from events that will most definitely happen. So this is about preparedness. When communities know where they are most vulnerable, they can take the steps in advance to reduce the damage and bounce back faster after something like this happens. So the point that we really want to emphasize is that there are a lot of resources out there. There are lots of funding that municipalities like yours can take advantage of, and not just for planning for climate change, but also in terms of infrastructure, capital funding for very specific infrastructure projects. Having a climate risk assessment, having the baseline, understanding what are your vulnerabilities is the key to unlocking these other funding opportunities. And this is where we see the biggest benefit for you to be. But as I said, my colleague will expand on that later. So I'll just hand it over to her.
Thank you, Natalia. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you for confirming. If you go to the next slide, please. Thanks. So you may be wondering why we're specifically chatting with you today. And through our research, we identified that the County of Northern Lights has existing policy direction that would support an initiative of this nature. The county's current strategic plan includes both a mission and vision statement that speak to officially providing services and infrastructure to ensure quality of life for residents, as well as being a great rural community of natural beauty and prosperity. It also identifies environmental resilience as a key consideration, noting that climate change and extreme weather events pose a risk to the county's infrastructure. Sustainable infrastructure is a priority focus area of this plan, with an underlying objective to strengthen infrastructure to withstand extreme weather impacts and integrate climate resilience into emergency response strategies. A successful application under GMF's Climate Ready Plans and Processes program could provide necessary information to help the county achieve its mission and vision, in addition to supporting applications for future infrastructure and emergency management grants, as Natalia mentioned. Next slide, please. Thank you. So in terms of some next steps, we are aware that GMF is preparing for a spring intake of this program, which is expected to open either in or around April. And if the county is interested in proceeding with an application, the submission would require preparing an application form as well as developing a project plan that addresses program objectives. ISL, myself and Natalia specifically, could assist with scoping this project and preparing a submission on behalf of the county. And it's important to note that for successful applications, GMF will reimburse applicants for up to $5,000 of costs incurred to write the application, which closely aligns with our cost estimate for assisting the county's application. So if the county is interested in submitting with support from ISL, our team would require sufficient support to work with administration to prepare your application. Additionally, at a later date, the submission would require an adopted resolution from council supporting the application and acknowledging our role as a partner organization. Next slide, please. So following conclusion of our presentation, which is basically after this slide, we are seeking a decision on the county's desired next steps regarding this funding opportunity. So once again, we do thank the county for the time to present on this topic, and we're happy to answer any questions we can to help facilitate discussion on this item. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. A little bit ironic that we're having this discussion because we had a talk earlier in our regular meeting about water levels. And yeah, we're reliant on rivers for our water supply in the county. So we have this, we see a trend where whether it's climate change or weather patterns or what's happening, but we're seeing less and less reliability on our water supply. So I think this kind of might fit into that. And plus emergency management, right? I mean, we're always prone to wildfires. So part of the emergency planning to be prepared for that. And maybe this whole grant would give us a better document to rely to. So, but I'll turn it over to council for questions.
See, there's a cap of $70,000 on this program. So I guess what exactly would we be looking at here? We mentioned water, so if we signed up for this to look at our water system and what we can do to, I guess prepare for shortages, future growths. What would that look like? What would we get for this money?
Sorry, I am having a little bit of issues with understanding what he said, but I heard your question was around the outcome, like what does the project produce at the end? Is that right?
Yeah, like we talked about water and the potential threats with drought and that. So again, if we were to enter into this, what exactly what would come out of this? What would that look like? What would we get for this, for the expenditure?
Okay, so as mentioned, for communities that don't already have a climate risk assessment, that is a recommended first step in climate planning. So a climate risk assessment basically looks at available climate data for the county to understand what are the specific impacts of climate change locally. So we all have heard about droughts and fires, and we all hear about global warming and the increase in temperature, but the way in which different communities experience these effects of climate change vary depending on your geographical location. So that is the first step, is to specifically look at under different climate scenarios, what are we looking at specifically for the county? Is there going to be an increase in precipitation? Would that be rain or snow? When would it happen? And there is important climate data out there that we can leverage to create this baseline understanding. The next thing that a climate risk assessment would do is compare these local effects that have been identified against your the community systems. And with that, I mean the people who's most at risk for which types of events, your infrastructure, so water, wastewater, stormwater management, all of these critical infrastructure systems, and can they be overwhelmed? Like we look at the capacity that they have right now, and how would that capacity perform in the future under these different climate scenarios? And then after analyzing, like these impacts, we create a matrix that would rate the risks based on the likelihood of these climate events happening versus the vulnerabilities, how vulnerable each of these systems are. And that gives you a picture of where do we have to focus our resources the most to make the most impact and prepare in the best way we can to address these impacts of climate change. And the report will have some recommendations of things that you can proactively do to prepare for these events while you're not in crisis mode, as well as things that you can prepare right now for when you are in crisis mode responding to these events. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, for example, if the study showed that our reservoir could be enlarged, to provide extra capacity, then would there potentially be more grant money to help with that in the future? Is that kind of this after this round? Am I reading that right?
Yes, you absolutely nailed it. That is the best part of these funding, and why we think that every single community honestly should be jumping on this opportunity. And it's because your climate risk assessment will identify these vulnerabilities, this risk, the level of risk, and basically gives you proof, like this is what the climate science data is telling us that climate change will create, and these are the effects that our community will experience. Now you have that documentation, you have that proof. That is what most funding streams will require you to have in order to access capital funding for things like what you're saying, a reservoir, right? So GMF itself has another stream of funding for one, feasibility studies for infrastructure projects, and two, actual capital funding for the infrastructure project. These are millions of dollars that are available to communities. And as mentioned earlier, the GMF particularly emphasizes the importance of providing this funding to communities that are rural, northern, remote, and so the county is really in a great position to leverage, its position to get this funding. So yes, this will open the door in the future for, whether it's through GMF or through any other funding stream, to get more funding and capital infrastructure funding to enhance your infrastructure in preparation for these climate impacts.
Okay, thank you.
So there's some flooding issues in a Métis settlement on our northern boundary that would probably require a lot of funding to try and mitigate that or deal with it somehow. So would this kind of be a kickstart to, because I see it says 100% covering eligible costs if the county collaborates with another municipality or an indigenous community. So would that open the door to some funding if we, if we sign on to this Green Municipal Fund?
Yeah, so the funding wants to encourage municipalities to partner with each other in creating something that is more regional because it makes it more comprehensive. So whether that is with an indigenous community or with another municipality, it wants to encourage that, like looking at it from a broader perspective. So in that sense, yes, there is an additional incentive for projects that are done in partnership. However, that increases the percentage that of eligible costs that would be covered, but that doesn't increase the cap. So the cap would remain at $70,000. It would just mean that if the total project cost is $70,000, then the full $70,000 would be covered. Does that make sense?
No, it's a little confusing, a lot of information there, but I guess overall, I don't see any harm that we would write a letter of support for this initiative. I mean, we don't have anything in place now. David, just a question for you. I mean, we've dealt with ISL for many years, and it's all been about land development and land planning. This kind of seems out of scope almost to me. Is this something that you do for other organizations as well? I mean, this is a fairly new initiative, obviously.
It's an incredibly new initiative, so it's new to everybody in the field. However, our firm is multidisciplinary, and we provide services for key infrastructure like roads, bridges, stormwater management facilities, water and wastewater networks. So we're familiar with the core infrastructure that this program would target. And Natalia and Chelsea are certainly comfortable with housing, environmental, and agricultural master plans. So it's something we've offered in the past in different ways and different pieces. This funding program brings all of those elements together.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Like I said, I've always associated your firm with, this development and land planning, so no, that's good. So what you would need from us is a resolution to show support for this, plus along with a letter, if I'm understanding the process.
That's correct. I believe Gerhard prepared a resolution or a motion document or a request for decision document, and it's critical right now because the funding is going to open and close very quickly. Natalia, do you have the timelines for the opening and closing of the applications?
We have been in contact with the GMF representative, and they don't have a specific date, but they have confirmed that it is April 2025. So just for reference, the last time that this funding opened, which was the first time ever, and that was back in November, they provided municipalities with a total of 3 weeks to complete the process from start to finish. So like all of the scoping, the budgeting, all of the forms and the council motion and everything had to be done within 3 weeks. So from that, we kind of like had this lesson learned that for the next intake, we would approach municipalities a little bit in advance so that we could have something ready in advance of the process opening again, so that we can be more efficient in that sense.
Okay. All right, well, I guess we'll have to look at our meeting procedure. We adjourned our regular meeting, so I don't know if we can make a motion in the MPC, or can we? Yeah. We'll make sure that we get something sooner than later, because we don't want to miss any deadlines. So I think we had a question from one of our virtual councillors.
Yes, it's Brenda Yasinski. I just had a question about a project. So if we partnered with an indigenous community or another municipality, would it have to be the same project that we'd be partnering on, or could we each have our own?
No, sorry, no, it would need to be the same project.
Okay, that's what I figured. Thanks.
Okay, any other?
Check an option from, that we could maybe look at, maybe bring it to the joint meeting this afternoon. With the town of Manning, and that will also give us that up to 100% coverage, especially since we are talking about a drought in the area, and
I was gonna suggest the same thing.
so maybe we could get a motion of support from them because their council meetings tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught that, but yeah, that would, definitely fall under the collaboration with another municipality then if we went that route.
That would be
Solid.
wonderful, and it's highly encouraged by GMF to take a look at these from a regional perspective.
Okay, well, we'll try to move this ahead then. Any closing thoughts from any of the ISL?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to present to you and for making a decision on this. It is important, as David mentioned, this is something that we're very passionate about, getting these funding flowing through Albertan municipalities. And we're looking forward to potentially collaborating in this project. So thank you.
Council administration, thank you for taking some time to let us provide you with a presentation, and we're looking forward to next steps.
Thanks, David. I mean, thank you for your work on this too and presenting to us. All right, well, with that, we'll, so we're gonna make a motion in the MPC. Okay, so we have a draft motion before you.
So I go ahead and make that motion. Do we want to add in there that we are going to approach the town of Manning for the joint application? So that they have it, because they're gonna need this to be both of us, right?
Or should we wait till we discuss it with them before we make a motion?
Yeah, I don't know that we have to put it in a motion. If we lay it out to them, then I think it'll be up to them. They meet tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, yeah.
I mean, this is for us.
Yeah.
If that comes up, that could be added in there, but
I'm just wondering, like, for the grant writing part of it, like, if we're both gonna collaborate, do they both have to be in there?
If we're going to receive 100% of these funds, then they need to be part of this, right?
So that should be in this initial motion, otherwise we're gonna have to bring it back
Well,
again. And
that's why I think we should consult with them before we go ahead. Maybe they don't want any part of it, in which case we proceed on our own.
But if we say approach, I mean, this, we're not saying that they're going in.
Oh, yeah,
we're just
recommend.
approaching them.
And approach and explore the option to collaborate or something.
Then we wouldn't be able to make a motion until our next meeting on April 8th and
Why couldn't we do it
tonight. I don't know, we've never made these kind of motions at our joint meetings, but
But we could then, through email, approve the
Say
motion.
afterwards.
I still think I mean, the way they work this up, it's really for our county. And it sounds like the timelines are pretty tight. So if we don't jump on it, it might not, like we may not get it, but at least if we're in there, that would be half the battle.
yeah, then we can, I mean, I'm not clear, but can we still collaborate with them later, like put our initial application in and then once they approve theirs, then we collaborate together on it? No.
Well, we're gonna be better if they do it up front, because if they do it up front, then
Those always go to the top of the pile,
they're
right?
all the top of the pile, that's exactly. But I mean, we can speak to the town tonight and get their feeling on it, and if they don't agree with it, then I think the motion as it reads at the moment is good. And if they do, we can just add it, because we're still giving a letter of support. And that's good enough for the Green Municipal Fund to see that we are approving ISL to do the grant application on it.
We can always, do a resolution by email, I guess, and.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kevin has made this motion. You're okay with it like that then, Kevin?
Yep, it's fine.
Brenda probably can't see it. I don't, is Linda? Yeah. Take that on over there. On behalf of the guys.
And then we'll just amend it if the town planning agrees tonight.
Right.
Is that kind of the thought?
What is the timeline like? I know they said it's a short window, but like when does it open and when does it close? Or do we know?
It's already open, isn't it?
No, they said it's gonna open in April, and the last time it was 3 weeks. They don't know.
Yeah, it was very unclear. But... So we have, Brenda, we have a motion by Kevin, or are you sharing the screen now? No. That's fine. To acknowledge receipt of the Green Municipal Fund Opportunity Report and approved by SLA Engineering and Land Services to submit application on behalf of the county and a letter of support from council be written for it. That's moved by Kevin, so. Okay, all in favor?
In favor?
That's carried. And okay, I don't know if I'm still in line. Okay, well, thanks. We're going to adjourn our meeting now, so thanks for your time and for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
Yes.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thanks. Okay. See you guys.